I see with the Italian sports guys. Bada boom!
Bada bing!
And you're here with the Saints. Brian Scheck's of State Farm, Saints and LSU recap. And, of course, we start with our Saints. A knockdown drag-out in Chicago last week for the Saints. Mostly knockdown drag-out for the Saints side.
Yeah, we did the knocking down and the dragging out. The Bears just got dragged out.
Yeah. This game had all the look of a real defensive struggle like we had a week before. A low-scoring game where maybe a big play or a turnover could make the difference. I was really surprised, Kyle. I know they had Akeem Hicks out, but I was really surprised how he took the fight to them in the trenches, both offensively and defensively.
It was clear from the start. They went 3-and-out on their first series, the Bears did, and the Saints absolutely controlled every facet of the game, let's be honest about it. But really, that started in the trenches on both sides of the ball, for sure.
Yeah, the running stats were really unbelievable, 151-17. Certainly, I think 7 carries for 17 yards. The fewest number of carries in 70 or 80 years for the Bears. Really impressive. And I'll tell you, it looks like Sean Payton sometimes he loses sight of the numbers before halftime. I think he realized sometimes he goes in half and says, we're really not committing to the run. I really thought that first drive of the second half really set the tone for this.
A lot of balance there, and I think he knows that that's a recipe for success for them. All those years the Saints broke all these passing records in the NFL, they were 9-7, 7-9 seasons up in that area because we were so pass heavy.
Yeah.
The best seasons that they've had, we've threw for a little less and run for a lot more. Yeah. And I know that he knows that that's where he wants to be. And I think we're chunking around a little bit too much. And you saw how things really took off when we put the ball on the ground.
Yeah, he had a lot of praise, of course, for Murray in this game. Latavius Murray was tremendous. He had, I think, 27 carries, 5 receptions, 119 yards plus 31 receiving, so about 150 yards total. And what really impressed me, Sean Payton said this in the post-game press conference. He said, he runs with power and speed, but he really puts his foot down and hits the accelerator well. He's got vision, and once he sees that one cut, he puts the foot down and goes, and his speed really impressed me in this game.
For a big guy, he can really turn it on. He's not just a strider. He is a strider, but he's quick, too. He's very quick, comes out of the break, and he's kind of a one-cut guy, and then he's gone. He starts heading upfield. He's a load, man.
Yeah. And you look at the numbers, 37.5 minutes time of possession. You're rarely going to lose a game when you win that dominantly on that side of the ball. You look at this Chicago team certainly struggling to find their identity offensively. Of course, I mentioned Hicks was out defensively.
I don't think he would have helped that quarterback.
I'm not sure that he would have
done much worse.
I think there was an issue where Chicago maybe gets demoralized defensively when you see this guy continue to go 3-and-out and not be able to push the ball down the field.
Well, and you look at it, Mitch Trubisky, this was, I believe, his first or second game back from a shoulder injury. And why would you, a guy who was obviously struggling the whole game, why would you abandon the run so much?
Yeah.
A team, you're starting to get overmatched on both sides of the line of scrimmage. I understand the idea is to extend the change and get first down, but at that point, it's survival mode. You need to run some clock and maybe eat some time up and give your defense a chance. But they were throwing the ball going 3-and-out. And again, 7 carries for 17 yards. It says a whole lot about the Saints defense. It says a little bit about the Bears offense, too.
Yeah, no doubt. Mike Thomas, as usual, great self, 9 catches for 131 yards. Bridgewater, I think, was solid. Again, I think there were some throws he misses here and there, but I think by and large he made the right throws at the right time. A pretty ball he threw on the run to Mike Thomas over the top of a double coverage once.
Yeah, dropped it right in there. I'll tell you, the thing with Bridgewater, we're used to seeing what we're used to seeing. Yeah. So, and that's really not fair to compare him to Drew Brees. Can also tell you that he's not Drew Brees, okay? You're looking at the most accurate quarterback in NFL history, a guy who's rarely hit because he gets rid of the ball so fast in Drew. And that's one thing that he's got to improve on. But all in all, you can't ask for any more from this kid.
For sure,
Man, he's played great. So.
One thing encouraging, too, we've been able to open up that deep ball to Ted Ginn a few times in the last few weeks. We hit another one last week. And again, you get that run formation, that kind of bunch personnel. And we get it over the top, with very few receivers in a formation, hit him wide open.
Yeah, and threw for over 280 yards.
Yeah.
That's nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, not bad. A little back and forth play with Tariq Cohen. It was kind of jawing back and forth with the Saints defense. Gave him a little bit of
picking on because he's short.
Picking on because of a little height issue.
And get the will guy.
But he had 9 catches for 19 yards. It really speaks to this team's inability to push the ball downfield. Really
from an electric player.
Yeah, from a guy who you consider kind of a guy who can break one here.
Yeah, I think he was asking for some of that too. They would get at some point the competitive juices start flowing. You're getting the pants beat off of you.
Yeah.
Maybe you're trying to spark your team. More than anything, I think he was frustrated. Saints were really taking it to him. So look, he's a guy I'd want on my team. I'll tell you that about Tariq Cohen. But not a whole lot of room to talk when you're getting the pants beat off of you like they did.
Yeah, and like you said, it gets frustrating. And the Saints were able just to sit back and kind of lay the load to him when he's short underneath throws as well. You look at this team again. Drew Brees may be coming back this week. He's back at practice and can tell he wants to play, chomping at the bit to do so. But I tell you, you just can't ignore this team. I mean, no Alvin Kamara, no Jared
Right.
Cook this week. You put them replacement parts. It really speaks to some of the sports journalists too talked about this when they went to see the Saints in training camp. Just a team that is very deep at a lot of different positions. Just a very thorough football team, especially in the offensive defensive line. A lot of guys you can rotate in, and I think that again we talked about the defensive line, their rotation, their freshness, able to really set the tone for this defense.
And they get Trey Hendrickson back this week too. Add something to that, So exactly what it is it's a complete roster, and we've
Right.
talked about this in weeks past. That you have to give credit to that front office for what they've built. Jeff Ireland, Mickey Loomis, and Sean Payton on the personnel parts. Terry Fontenot, where he's involved too, the cupboard is full. Okay, now look, you still can't do it without certain players, but by and large, they have put the Saints in a position to next man up mentality really does mean something here, as evidenced by the greatest player in franchise history going down. They haven't lost a game since. So
yeah, and Cameron Jordan was tremendous again. I think he had a couple sacks and a couple of quarterback hurries and hits. Meanwhile, on the other side, give some kudos to Ryan Ramczyk. I mean, Khalil Mack. I know there were different guys. Block him at different times, and at times they chipped him. They helped out with the tight end or running back, but by and large, he was a non-factor. You don't hear that about this guy very often.
It might be the top 2 or 3 defensive players in the league right now, and you never heard his name on Sunday. Yeah. And the only time you heard it is when they talked about how you're not hearing it.
Yeah.
So, Ramczyk, nothing surprises me with him. I mean, maybe one of the very best right tackles in football, and seems to get a little better as time goes on every year. So
yeah, and has neutralized some of the best pass rushers in the game.
Yeah.
We saw J.J. Watt in that first game as well.
Right.
On the defensive side, I want to give a shout out. Von Bell has played lights out the last couple of weeks. I think his Pro Football Focus numbers for the last 2 weeks have been top of the league or close to it. So just really, really coming along. We talked about that.
Really coming to his own, running the pass equally confident.
Yeah.
So.
A little bit disappointing late in that game. These defensive stats would have been tremendous. We had held them to about 120 yards to the last couple of minutes of the game. Couldn't field these onside kicks. Number one, Eli Apple gets hurt on one of those drives. Looks like he's going to be okay, though.
Full participant.
Full participant this week. That's good news to hear.
Today,
A little barely hyperextended to some extent.
Looked a lot worse than that when he went down with no contact.
It looked bad for sure. The other issue there is, of course, this team. I mean, the numbers would have looked impressive. 120 yards. We move up to 6th overall in defense, team defense, though, in the league.
Well, look, this is the part we've always talked about under Sean Payton is you have to be middle of the road, a little bit better than middle of the road with the defense. And Dennis Allen, progressively, as we've gotten him the parts. Look, you just mentioned the defensive line depth, able to rotate all these guys in. Again, and they get one of the cogs in the wheel back this week in Trey Hendrickson. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson stepping in to play with P.J. Williams suspended and Patrick Robinson gets hurt in the first series.
Right.
And this kid comes in and he is not lacking confidence whatsoever. Yeah. Remind me a lot of a young Malcolm Jenkins when he was a rookie on that Super Bowl team. Came in and just stepped right in with the veterans and he knew he was the young buck and didn't back down from anything. And Gardner-Johnson's showing a lot of even Saquon Barkley, the rookie safety out of Rutgers, got some playing time this past weekend. So all in all, everything's clicking right now. You need to keep it going. Linebacker-wise, I thought Kiko Alonso is starting to become more and more active. And when he knows what he's doing, man, he's a force.
Yeah, and something about this team, too. We talked about the locker room and just a lot of good guys who get along well. But there's a lot of teams with guys who are friends that aren't this good at football.
Right,
there seems to be one of these intangibles where these guys are just stepping up and there's a camaraderie on the field versus, about we're going to pick this guy up, I'm going to have his back. It just seems to be there's something special about the way this team has come together.
That comes with winning.
Yeah.
If this team was 1-6, I don't think the buy-in would be there. That's part of that kind of feed. You have to buy in to start winning games.
Yeah.
And once you start winning games, everybody starts buying in more and more and more. And it's that, your ball's rolling downhill, the ball's, going the other way. So I think you see that a lot. It reminds me a lot of those Nick Saban coach teams, the psychology of how you get everyone from the water boy to the star quarterback to buy in. And
I call it H2O.
I think you have. I knew you were going to go there. I think you have some of that going on right now with the Saints, where you don't want to be somebody who's not on board with the same direction that train's going.
Yeah, we got our sights on that Bourbon Bowl this year, so keep guys on that one.
Absolutely.
Moving to the college ranks, of course, LSU Tigers. One they were supposed to win at Mississippi State, but again, you go into a hostile atmosphere. You got some big games coming up down the road. One you could easily overlook. Struggled a little bit early getting the ball in the end zone, but when all was said and done, Joe Burrow puts himself squarely on top of that Heisman race. He's 25 of 32, 4 touchdowns to 4 different receivers. He continues to roll with this offense.
Yeah, 327 yards passing, no interceptions. The only problem with Joe Burrow playing so well right now is it seems like over the last 5 or 7 years, the guy that's leading the Heisman, no matter how well he plays down the stretch, at week 7, when they start really mentioning him as the front runner, they love the drama to bring the other guy in. That's the only concern I have about him. Right now, he's playing better than anybody in the country.
Yeah.
Okay, and LSU is playing as well, if not better than anybody in the country. You know, they weren't as excited, weren't as jacked up, maybe not as focused for a daytime game at Mississippi State, coming off the big win at Florida the week before. Auburn looming, bye week, Alabama looming.
Yeah.
So no excuses. SEC game, you got to get ready to play. But when you win by the margin they won by, and that's considered not your best effort, I'll take it 7 days a week. So. Yeah. I thought that defensively they gave up over 100 yards on the ground, but it was on 30-plus carries. Mississippi State averaged 2.8 yards a carry.
Yeah.
2 fantastic interceptions that flipped the field, one by Jacoby Stevens, a great one-handed pick, and then Christian Fulton, Rummel Raider alum, ended up with a pick there as well. So all in all, the Tigers are clicking. They're going to have their work cut out for them this Saturday in Tiger Stadium, though.
Yeah, how do you size up this Auburn game, Kyle?
Auburn is stacked on the offense and defensive lines. If I'm not mistaken, their offensive line is 5 returning starters. It may be 5 seniors as well. So these guys have seen everything, okay? When you go back to that first game in the year when they came back and beat Oregon with a freshman quarterback, Bo Nix, you can tell that offensive line, that is a common influence for quarterback in the huddle. Those guys had seen it all.
Yeah.
And they've been in Tiger Stadium before and played. So it doesn't make them any more talented, but at least they've seen this type of ammunition coming at them. On the defensive front, they're just as nasty. This will be the best offensive and defensive lines LSU will have faced up to this point this season. 2 defensive linemen, Derek Brown and Marlon Davidson, that play for Auburn, are both going to be first-round picks most likely. Derek Brown's going to be a top 5, top 10 pick, I can tell you that. He wears number 5. Keep your eyes open for him. Auburn has been looking forward to this game since about the second series of Arkansas because they beat the pants off the Razorbacks last week. So they're going to be ready. They feel like they owe the Tigers one from last year. LSU won on the last play of the game last year with ice-cold Tracy's game-winning field goal for the comeback in Jordan Hare. Auburn's going to try and flip the script this year. Rumors out that the quarterback is saying it's no big deal to be playing in Death Valley, the Bo Nix freshman kid. I don't know that he said that, but they have a quote attached to a picture, which is another
why not? Put on a bulletin board anyway, right?
That's right. Tack it up and let it roll.
Yeah, right.
But the Tiger Faith will be out in force. CBS game of the week, 2:30 Saturday afternoon, Tiger Stadium. I'll be there.
And I believe the Alabama game is going to be at 2:30 also a couple weeks after that. So
will not be a night game in Tuscaloosa.
That's right. And you mentioned, I think this is one of these teams that you may have to pass to open up the run in this case. I mean, I think they're going to come out, like you mentioned, really wanting to be physical, take that away from you. So I think you're going to have to open things up. And then once the field opens up, you maybe hit them up with the run.
Look, up to this point, LSU's offense has shown that it has an answer for anything anybody can throw at it. If not right away, they figure it out very quickly. Yeah. Florida's defensive line to that point was the best that LSU had seen this season. LSU's offensive line was coming off not their greatest performance against all teams, Utah State.
Yeah.
And sure enough, they handled them completely. Handled Florida's defensive line completely. No sacks on Joe Burrow and rushed for over 150 plus. So, I expect the Tigers to win. It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be a battle early. Might not be as high scoring as we're used to. But Tigers has some things to shore up offensively. This is Joe Burrow's words, not mine. In the red zone, you thought they should have performed a little better.
Yeah, early on,
touchdowns instead of field goals. I think you're going to see them maybe with a couple of new wrinkles this Saturday, and hope turn some of those field goals into touchdowns. I think they'll be okay.
There you go. Maybe the LSU special in the goal in the red zone, maybe
something like that. Joe Burrow with his pants on this week.
Let's hope so. Moving along, the Tulane Green Wave, tough loss last week. Tough spot to be in, really. Memphis was coming off of a loss at Temple, I believe.
Right.
Coming back home, jacked up to get back on a winning track.
A couple of bad calls against Tulane early on. I'm not saying, look, they got wiped out. They had a shot.
Yeah.
Okay, they were there to compete. You get a couple of bad calls go against you, change it. Momentum's a big deal, especially with the 18 to 22-year-olds, college players. I think that had a little something to do with it, but hats off to Memphis. They beat them.
Yep, 47-17 to final. But yeah, I certainly expect Tulane to bounce back and have a great season as we've seen.
It's a good football team.
It is a good football team, no doubt. Just want to mention one more time our sponsors again. Brian Scheck State Farm for all your insurance need. You want insurance coverage, you go to Brian, right? You want football coverage?
You got to have a guy. You got to have a guy for both. You got to have a guy. You got this guy for insurance. You got these guys.
Both these guys,
all 4 of us. For your sports knowledge.
There you go. And then Luca Eats, Uptown, Cone Street. Right?
Yeah, 7329 Cone Street, Cone and Lower Line. You gotta have a guy. You gotta have guys. And you gotta have food for all of the guys.
Got food for the game, right?
Luka's got food,
and it's a great time of year to be there. Get those tables outside, beautiful weather, so you get you outside, hang out on the patio there. And
get it on your way to Yeoman Stadium for the Green Wave, man.
For the
get it over there. You can go see the wave.
Just want to mention also out to the ISG Nation again. Thanks for watching and sharing these videos out there on Facebook. Again, we have Facebook. We also have a channel on YouTube as well. These YouTube, ISG Sports. So,
Utes on YouTube.
Feel free to make comments and post your questions too.
Easy on the comments, but questions.
That's right. Good.
Go
questions.
easy.
Maybe the ISG Nation, maybe the Italian Sports Guys will answer your question right here on the show. So.
Yeah, forget about it. Mention your name and everything.
There you go. And so we're looking forward to another Saints win. Again, we're going to a bye. What do you think about the Saints team against Arizona next week? Huh?
I like the Saints' chances. Arizona, look, they're playing well. They won, I believe, 3 in a row, and Kyler Murray's really found himself in this Cliff Kingsbury offense.
Yeah.
But I think the Saints are just a little bit deeper roster. But look, you better show up because it's the NFL, and anybody can beat anybody, and they're playing with a lot of confidence right now. So,
right. Drew Brees, sit him or play him?
Personally, I'd sit him.
Yeah.
Give it another week. It just depends. You know what? Depends on what he looks like on game day. Yeah. You know, is it a situation where if it's not 100% healed and you smack it on another helmet, then you really got a problem. You know, take advantage of this week and then the next week where you can really ease into it. But it just depends, you know.
Yeah, I get the sentiment.
I think it's a smokescreen what they're doing.
Yeah, he's not going to make the decision. Or saying he's not going to make the decision until right before the game, and that's a good tactic for any coach to use in this situation, right? You know, so I understand Drew would like to get back in front of the home crowd a game like this, get one in, and then have the break or 2 weeks to rest. But I tell you, 2 more weeks of resting that thumb. I like the fact that we're going to get Drew Brees back mid-season with a well rested, not just the thumb but the shoulder too. He has some little issues the last couple of years.
Right.
Get him at full strength have only had played of maybe a half a season or so once we get to that postseason time.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense. Look, and if Teddy starts and look, there's been spots where he's really struggled.
Right.
They've really looked, so.
Right.
And if that's the case and you need you off the bench, what better way to give your team a lift? If there's a little bit of a problem, maybe the effort, the crowd's a little, you pull 9 off the bench. Willis Reed, he comes limping out there. It's over with.
That's right. Win the championship. All right. Well, whatever happens next week, the Italian Sports Guys will be on top of it with the coverage of both NCAA and NFL. We are
the Italian Sports Guys.
Bada boom.
Bada bing.